For this Halloween, I present to you a tale of fear, a tale of woe. I present to you The Drums. 8 p.m., Friday the 13th. A man drives home. A late appointment, a few extra things to do, and once again, he found himself working late. Night fell this night like any other, maybe a little more chilly, perhaps more rain, but otherwise he had an ordinary drive home ahead. But traffic had other ideas. His phone had told him to take a detour down a country road, to skip the mass of taillights ahead of him, and he obligingly followed. Now on a lonely road, the rain began to get worse, and the fog began to set in. His phone searched for a network, showing recalculating, while telling him confidently to drive onwards. Asphalt turned to gravel, which turned to muddy dirt as the fog began to creep closer and his driving slowed down. No stoplights, no traffic, but night was upon him faster than he expected. It was then his eyes began to droop a bit. A late night, an early morning, a long day, all of these caused him to grow sleepy. He considered pulling over, but the narrow road offered no respite for that. Just then, he saw a faded sign. It simply read, "Motel Dusk, 1 mile ahead." Realizing that this would at least give him a place to pull over, he continued on. Strange, he thought. Such a hotel in seemingly the middle of nowhere, yet also so very near his home. Still, any port in a literal storm, and all he could hope was that the motel was still open, or at least had a parking lot to rest in, even if long shuttered. On arriving, he wasn't even sure if it was open. The building was dark, but as he pulled in, a single light came on with a vacancy sign, and what appeared to be a lobby past it. The man opened the door, and was greeted by a decor whose style could be dryly described as, well, timeless, because it had not appeared to have changed in decades. Faded linoleum tile, wood paneling, and fluorescent lights greeted his eyes. For his ears, a staticky radio and worn-out electric fan. Nobody sat at the desk, but an inviting bell sat there. A door opened, and a man equally timeless as the decor emerged. The only thing of note was his black suit, which seemed rather odd for the place. The innkeeper stood there, waiting for the man to speak. Hello, I'd like a room," the man said. The innkeeper's eyes flashed a moment of, well, something the man couldn't quite pick up. Worry? Resignation? "You would like a room for the night? Are you sure?" The man was surprised by the hesitation of the innkeeper for business. "Of course I'd like a room. Is there a problem?" The innkeeper paused, then looked the man in the eyes. No problem at all. But I must warn you. Beware when the drums stop." The man wasn't quite sure what that meant. He heard no drums, and this seemed like a lonely inn in the middle of nowhere. Perhaps it was some strange expression he wasn't familiar with. Hesitantly, he responded, "Oh, I'm sure it'll be fine." The innkeeper slowly shook his head and said, "I have warned you, that is all. Your room is down the hall, the last one on the left." Taking the key, the man, carrying nothing but his work case, thanked the innkeeper. "Thank you, and good night." The innkeeper shook his head again and whispered, "One can only hope." A quiet hallway led to a simple room. Bed, bathroom, desk, and chair. An old clock ticked away on the wall while a fan blew musty air through the room. Nothing but rain and darkness met the window to the outside, but he closed the curtains anyway, not planning to spend the entire night, merely to nap out the rest of the rain. The man freshened up and then laid on the bed in the darkness and listened as the clock ticked away. Soon his thoughts began to drift away from the strange inn with the stranger innkeeper, away from the rain, his thoughts growing more hazy as he pondered upon. The man sat bolt upright in bed. The drum sound echoed in his thoughts. Was he startled awake by a nightmare? Had the man managed to rattle him enough? He listened carefully, but heard nothing but the clock. Thinking it was just a dream, his thoughts once again settled, his body relaxed, and he began to drift back to sleep, dreaming of thoughts. This time he leapt to his feet. Again, silence. Just the fan and the clock. Ticking. Was that the clock? It sounded different. Ticking almost, but rhythmic. Changing into his clothing, he quietly opened the door and went towards the lobby. Perhaps the innkeeper, having already been paid, was trying to scare him away to have a quiet night without him. As he reached the lobby, the innkeeper remained behind the desk, the radio playing barely more than static. The innkeeper turned his head to the man. "Do you need anything?" The man didn't respond, and the innkeeper just gave a sad look. Did you hear anything?" Shaking his head, the innkeeper responded, "Not yet." That word "yet" dripped off his voice with an ominous tone. The man headed back to his room to fetch his things and leave. Surely he'd napped enough now. Or he could just sleep in the car. Just some local trying to scare away good business, the man thought. He'd reversed a credit card charge and leave a 1-star review and complained to the Better Businessman. The hallway shook with a thunder of drums like he had never heard before. The lights flickered in time. The man stumbled past the door looking for the exit, but nothing was there. Somewhere his key fell from his hand, trapping him in the hallway, the only escape back to the lobby. On arrival, the innkeeper stood blocking the front door, the lights flickering and light streaming in through the blinds. What he could see through the blinds was unnaturally bright, and the innkeeper, whispering though he may be, could still be heard over the deafening drums. "I'm afraid it's too late, but it will all be over soon," the innkeeper said in a resigned fashion. "What happens next? What happens now?" The man cried out as the drums grew to a fever pitch, louder and louder, and then silence. The innkeeper shed a single tear and hung his head. Now comes the bass solo. Boo! Did I scare you? Happy Halloween!